welcome to another episode of Do Go On. My name is Dave Warnicky, and as always, I'm here with Matt Stewart. Hello, Matt.
Hey, Dave. So good to be here.
And not as always, we are joined by a very special guest. Our dear friend from Sandsmans Radio, Cass Paige, is here.
Oh, that's a lovely introduction.
Hello, Cass, and it's all true.
Oh,
So good to have you back, Cass. Last
good to
time
be
you were
back.
here, you heard me talking about the real Robinson Crusoe.
That's right.
Recall that?
oh, I do. That room was big.
Yes,
We
we
were in
were
a
sitting
very
in,
big room.
in the main studio at the Stupid Old Studios.
Yeah, that was massive.
I felt luxurious.
It felt luxurious because we all had really long corded mics as well. It felt like we were filming a music video.
Yeah, that's right. We were being very, very COVID safe, but it was impossible to hear each other as we were hundreds of meters away.
Yeah, no, that was good. I have no idea if that was 6 months ago or 2 years. It was sometime in the COVID past. But
Definitely in the past.
yeah, I reckon it was definitely in the past if I was going to have a guess.
I'd say that. Yeah, I reckon so. Yeah, good pick.
Hey, Cass.
Yes.
Do you know how this show works? Because I'll explain it to you if you don't. And maybe for new listeners, maybe I'll just do it
Yeah,
anyway.
Just play dumb, I reckon, yeah.
Well, I don't know what a podcast is. Where are the faces? I can't read the expressions.
Okay, well, I've got to go way back to the start. We're coming from a long way behind. A podcast is... Oh, fuck. I shouldn't start that sentence. I don't know how to end it.
Oh, no.
There once was a man named Steve.
It's like a radio show in your phone.
That'll do.
That'll do. Anyway, so this show in particular works when the three of us, Cass, you're now one of the three of us, one of us goes away and researches a topic often suggested by a listener and then writes up a report, almost like an old high school report, brings it back to the class and reads it out to the other two. The person who's done the research has kept the topic a secret, and they get us onto the topic with a question. This week, Dave is doing the report. Dave, what is your question?
All right, my question for both of you is, what prestigious motorsport race is held every year in France and is won by the car?
Le Mans.
It is. It's the car that covers the greatest distance in 24 hours, and the answer is, I'm afraid you're wrong. It's Le Mans. Fuck. So I'm going to have to give the point to Cass there.
Yes.
Damn it.
Who waited till the end of the question. You know a bit about this race, obviously?
No.
Is this the one where you're allowed to have a motorbike and sometimes people make a film about it?
I don't think... Steve McQueen has made a Le Mans film.
Okay.
He also rode the motorbike in The Great Escape. That is the only connection I'm making.
Okie dokie. That
Are you thinking of one that's like a cross country? This one's like around and around, I think, but it just goes for ages.
yeah, I'm thinking of a big straight line.
Are you thinking of
What's fastest
Dakar or something? Oh,
I
right.
think I might be thinking
Ah,
of. Yeah,
yes.
I'm thinking
Like
of speed, not
land speed
distance.
records. Yeah.
Right, no, this one, it is almost like a traditional race, and that, like Matt says, you go around a very long track, you do laps, but it's rather than who comes first, isn't whoever does it the quickest a certain distance, it's whoever does the most laps in 24 hours.
So speed is still important.
You want to go quick, but I'll explain why it's slightly different. But it doesn't always go smoothly because specifically this week I'm doing the story of the 1955 Le Mans disaster.
Okay.
Oh, that doesn't sound good.
Dave, surely, you could have picked the 1974 Le Mans success story.
Yeah, exactly. A very fun yet boring tale.
Everything, it's just like, and they just kept going around faster and faster and safely.
Sometimes a bit slow, but you know what? Some people did more laps than other people, and isn't that what's important in the day?
Mm.
And everyone lived happily ever after because everyone lived. So this one has been suggested by a few people. Thank you to Josh Wilcock from Brighton, Joe from Brisbane, and of course, Ben Johnson from Milton Keynes in the UK, who's been very keen for us to cover this topic over the years.
Has he been?
He's I've seen him post in our Patreon group a few times, and I put this up for a vote for our Patreon and supporters at dogoonpod.com, where I put up 3 disaster topics.
Okay.
And Ben even got in the group and said, guys, you got to vote for C. I've been pushing for it for years. So Ben, we're finally doing it, mate. So the first 24 hour of Le Mans, for context, was held in 1923, a time when Grand Prix motor racing was the dominant form of motorsport throughout Europe. Grand Prix motor racing eventually evolved into what we know today as Formula One or F1. And much like it is today, back then it was all about who could drive the fastest.
Imagine if there was a time where it was something else. Who could drive the swerviest?
Was that drift racing?
Yeah.
So it was a classic race to see who could build and race the fastest machines. That's what the normal one is. In comparison, the aim of the 24 Hour of Le Mans was to test who could build the most reliable cars.
Right, so Volvo would have been big.
Yeah.
Are they reliable? No, they're safe.
Safe.
That seems like a competition for the common man.
Yeah.
You know?
Toyota Corolla versus a Mazda 3. Let's see.
You keep the engine going for 3 months, see who's still going.
We should turn crash test dummies into some sort of contest.
Oh, yeah. What are you thinking?
I reckon you could, maybe covering every element of the car.
What about like haircuts? Who gets the cutest
It's a
crash test
triathlon.
dummy haircut?
Part number 1 is hair and makeup. Part number 2 is artists come in and paint the different elements of the car in different colours. Part number 3 is the crash. And then when you look at the dummies afterwards, if they've got green on them, that means the steering wheel hit them. You know? Then we can test the car safety, but also how hot you can be.
Yeah, swimsuit.
All right, so they drag the corpse out and we go, this one looks pretty hot, actually.
Yeah. Still got it.
You get style points. So if the car's crashed and gotten a bit mangled, but like the seatbelt imprint has like really merged nicely with the airbag.
Oh, yeah, right.
Does like a little bit of a sponge print pattern.
Yeah, that's nice. And maybe the seatbelt for the winner would be a sash saying Mr. Crash Test or whatever.
I passed the crash test.
We'll get
dummy.
Trump involved. Yeah, I think this could be big.
Really big.
Mr. or Mrs.
Yeah,
Crash
women
test.
can get killed in cars too.
Yeah, I apologise.
We got to get a fact check on that.
I was picturing hot men crash test dummies, and that's on me.
Yeah, women can also be objectifiably hot. Come on.
That's true. I was picturing a Brad Pitt type.
Oh, you're always
Crash test.
picturing a Brad Pitt
That's your
type.
go-to dummy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. A real handsome man. He's
Certainly is.
right up there with Jimmy Garoppolo, quarterback for the 49ers. God damn, he's handsome.
I haven't seen this
I don't
man.
know this man either.
Well, you'll see him and you'll be like, that is a handsome
I
man.
think I'm missing out.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're recording this pre-Super Bowl, but I assume he's just won it.
He puts
He's
the
won.
superb in Super Bowl, am I right?
He's just won the award for hottest Super Bowl player.
Won the award for if I were a ball, he would be the person holding the ball,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
I want to be a ball for Jimmy Garoppolo
Yeah.
to throw.
I
Oh,
wanna
Jimmy
be-
G, throw me.
I want to be a wide receiver. All right. So, Le Mans, the competition was designed to boost and promote technical innovation and encourage the development of the automotive industry. That's
Sounds great.
the outset. And this is like a time when cars are evolving pretty quickly in the early 20s.
Sometimes I think about times like this in the past and I'm like, it would have been so exciting because we've got some new technology now, but there's so many scams, so we're all a bit wary. But back then, people who were doing scams, we didn't know there were scams. Can you
Yes.
imagine when Tupperware got invented and someone's like, hey, your food will keep fresh for a week, and you're like, oh my God, and then all the plastic stuff comes out and we don't know plastic's bad yet. So then everyone's in there being like, hey, we don't have to carry metal or glass around. It's lighter. It doesn't scratch because the whole thing's coloured. Like all the colours are vibrant.
They're vibrant colours. Hey?
Like, how cool would it have been?
And people didn't know. So we discovered once on an episode that a Ponzi scheme is named after a guy called Ponzi who just had a scheme.
Also, he wasn't the person who invented it. It was a woman in the same town.
Is that true?
I was reading something. It
Cass-
was saying that the first Ponzi scheme was actually by a woman who lived in the same town. And it's like, oh God, where are the girl bosses?
Can't even be original.
My
Cass,
girl
you're-
boss history.
You're kind of stepping on my toes a bit here. I'm actually the feminist of the pod. So,
I'm so sorry.
so
I should know my place.
yeah, please just, if we're ever going to talk about it, women can do it too. That's sort of my area,
yeah.
if you don't mind.
I'll leave it to you then.
But Dave did the report about this Ponzi guy, didn't you? Did you mention
I
that?
talked about the guy who sold the Eiffel Tower
Oh, that's right.
twice.
What?
Yeah, it was a scam. People thought they were buying it. He got away with it too. So, and we've also done a report on the history of Tupperware.
Yeah, that
Can
was
you
a
believe?
bonus report, I think, on a Patreon bonus episode. We're running out of topics.
We've done them all. Name something, Cass. We've done it.
Oh,
That's why Dave's having to specifically do Le Mans 1954. We've done all the other
Exactly.
Le Mans.
God, I don't want to burn future topics. The good thing is one happens every year, so we've got a new one coming up this
Thank
year.
God.
you just got to wait. It's a time game now.
So at Le Mans, teams compete
Much
to
like
create.
Le Mans.
They create reliable and fuel-efficient vehicles that need little pit stops. Rather than race for a certain amount of laps or distance like they do in F1, the winner of Le Mans is the team that's covered the most distance over 24 hours. Drivers and racing teams strive for speed and avoiding mechanical damage, as well as managing the car's fuel, oil, tyres, and braking materials. So you can't just go flat out the whole time because you risk your car breaking down.
Yeah, because in F1 they have to replace the wheels every couple of laps, right?
Yes, well, I think
Tires.
I think it's a couple of times per race often.
Yeah.
But with this, there's actual rules about how often you can do your pit stop. You can't pit until like lap 35 or something.
Huh.
And it's the same with the oil, the fuel. So you've got to really time it properly, and that's part of it. There's a lot of scheming.
Cool.
This is what's called an endurance race, which is now its own category, with Le Mans being the oldest active endurance racing event. Le Mans has some unique rules in the world of motorsport, one of which is that the cars must be switched off while refueling in the pits. Like in F1, they try and do everything in about 2 seconds flat, change the tyres, refuel, all that sort of stuff. But in Le Mans, you've got to turn the car off. Not only is this safer and less of a fire hazard, but it's also a test of reliability, as cars with the guaranteed ability to restart many times under race conditions are harder to make. So you've got to factor that in as well.
Right.
Does that mean at the little pit stop they've got the signs that you have at the petrol station being
Yeah.
like, please turn off car, turn off engine, do not attach this hose to this one.
No
Must be
mobile
16.
phone.
No mobile
Yeah.
phone. My friend from uni, when he was 18, pulled in to fill up his car at the petrol station, and the thing wasn't working, and then he just hears an announcement over the PA, "You're too young. You're too young to fuel the car." He's like, "I'm 18."
You're too young to fuel the car.
Thought that someone had sent their 12-year-old kid out to fill the car up. Mate,
Sounds like God's looking down.
I drove you. Step away from the fuel pump.
That's interesting. I think I saw a Mythbusters once that debunked the mobile phones can spark a fire.
Oh, I watched that one. They just kept going until it did. But it took a lot of
Right.
effort.
A lot of phones.
I think a lot of
They had to get
phone-
one a really big phone.
And they had to enclose the space because
Right.
petrol stations are often open air.
Do they have to set the phone on fire?
They also had to use a lighter.
They had to do so much to make it work. Yeah, everyone ignores that rule, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think it's still a rule.
Yeah, but the photos of the phones are the pictographs are still very old phones.
Right.
Like you got a 12 number keypad.
Yeah, and then
the one you're pulling up the antenna on.
and the phone is on fire. So, because no one can or rather should drive for 24 hours straight, drivers race in teams, sharing just one vehicle and then swapping when they pit stop.
Oh, good.
It used to be teams of 2, but now these days 3 drivers have to share it. The race is run in June on one of the shortest nights of the year in France to get maximum daylight. But it's also often really hot and the conditions inside the car are quite unbearable.
Right.
Well, that's good. You got to see if the aircon's going to hold out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. You got to have the aircon going full belt. The racetrack itself is named the Circuit de la Sarthe.
Like anything in French just sounds fancy. What does that mean? Bum-shaped track or something?
Is that just circle, like it's key? Like what is?
It's just how French people say circuit and then de la Sarthe. I don't know what that means. But it consists of both permanent track and public roads temporarily closed for the race. So there's a bit that's always there and then they also block off. So the town's probably like, for God's sake, Le Mans on again.
Hate this
It's
day.
car day.
The track has changed a lot over the decades. Originally, it was 17 kilometres or 10 miles long. These days, it's just 13.5k or 8.4 miles long. The track also used to feature the Mulsanne Strait, which is a famously long piece of road that was 6k or 3.7 miles long, meaning drivers could hit ludicrous speeds. Up to 85% of the lap time is spent on full throttle, so this puts immense stress on engines and drivetrain components. So it's a pretty brutal track.
Did you say they got rid of the long stretch of road?
Yes, they did, for safety reasons,
That's
which
good.
we will talk about.
Oh, did they get rid of the track this year that we're discussing?
They will put in some safety measures, but it's an ever evolving thing. The track has changed lots over the years because of further incidents. But the biggest incident is 1955, which we'll talk about. But the inaugural 24-hour of Le Mans event was in 1923, and both the race and festivities took place throughout the streets of Le Mans in northwestern France, and that's where it gets its name. It's very close to that town. It's on the outskirts. That race had 33 entrants, of which 30 finished, which is quite remarkable considering they started just minutes after a hailstorm had come through.
Oh, wow.
In fact, it wasn't until the 1993 Le Mans that 33 cars again finished the whole race. So people constantly retire because they either crash or their car more commonly just gives up.
Yeah. It's like it is more brutal than it sounds. It's sort of... It's like you drive around in a circle for a day.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound that
How
bad.
hard can it be?
Yeah.
Or even doing an 8-hour shift of driving in a circle.
Yeah.
I feel like you'd feel like you were leaning one way by the end of the day, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. That's why at the 8-hour mark, they go in reverse just to sort of balance it out.
They hit it into reverse. They put one arm over the seat behind them and then they just do that for 8 hours.
Backing it up. How am I doing back there?
That would be a good test of car. They should do another Le Mans.
Yeah, the 24-hour reverse.
Le Nom, and you just back it up the whole time.
You just hear a constant beep, beep.
You just got another guy outside being like, "You good?
You good?
You
Yeah,
good?
no, you good.
Yep.
You good?
Yep.
So
Yep.
good.
Yep.
Yeah, no, you good?
Watch your back right. Nah, that's good. Straighten up.
Straighten up.
You good?"
I'll tap the back when you're good. I love when people do that, but then they go from good to stop so quickly. Good. No.
Yeah.
Hey, just say...
Yeah, we need a medium
Yeah,
thing
there's
here.
a little bit...
I always, because yelling, every time I do this, I try and put a thumbs up in view of the driver, and as it starts to like get a bit close, I start tilting it down. So
Like an old emperor.
like so then
I'm
it's like
displeased.
thumbs up, getting a bit closer. Oh, we're at 45, and then then they'll get really close and I'll just thumbs down.
Oh,
like,
that's
nah,
good.
you good.
And this is all good stuff for a podcast, but the one I reckon works really well is people do like their hands apart how big the gap is. So as you're backing back, they're going like this.
Oh,
and the gap's shrinking.
That's much more helpful than just giving a thumbs up.
But then,
Well, I think the thumb's much more helpful than just going, yep. No.
but with the hands thing, do the people also audibly communicate, or it gets to crashing and their hands are just
Yeah,
together?
they're like-
Well,
They're
and
just
then they're on the
smushing
other
their
side,
hands. Yeah.
Well, as soon as your hands are touching, you're praying for the driver.
Yeah, that's right. God rest your soul.
You good? You good? You good?
So the inaugural Le Mans was run by two French drivers who were driving in a Chenard Welker, a French car that I've never heard of. Through looking at the history of Le Mans, there was a bunch of car companies that no longer exist and haven't been anywhere near my lifetime. All up, they covered 2,209 kilometres in 24 hours, which is seems like...
That sounds pretty good. What's that?
How
What's
big's
that case per
Australia?
hour?
It's not quite 100, is it?
But
back in 1923, that's
go
100
on
years
that
ago.
non-stop for
Yeah,
24 hours is amazing.
Yeah, and they're going on curvy roads and stuff, and it's not a race.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but by comparison, modern competitors often cover well over 5,000 kilometres in the day.
Wow, that's amazing.
The record was set in 2010 when 5,410 kilometres or 3,360 miles was covered. So
How big's something that I know what it is?
Yeah, how many MCGs is that?
Yeah,
how many laps of the MCG?
how many McGs do we
I think
have?
while you're looking that up, I was just thinking about all these car companies that have gone. I think that was like in the early days. I think all these little businesses would make cars, and they'd come and go. Little businesses that would fail, but it would just be. I think some of those would just an engineer and with a small team, or sometimes making them himself.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. I was reading a little bit recently about the early history of the motor industry, and it was interesting. Like I think Henry Ford started up this company, and then
what do they call it?
I can't remember if this is this is before Ford, and he
Was it Henry?
Henry, yeah, and he left. He called it Henry, but he left it, and it got renamed the Cadillac Company, and that is what like early, and then the Dodge, the company Dodge.
Oh yeah.
That was the Dodge brothers, I think, were involved in that earlier. It was just like this tiny little industry with all these little companies.
I suppose
That was sort of
making a car is pretty weird,
Yeah,
and not everyone knows how to do it. Like, and we've got mechanics now, but back in the day,
yeah, there were mechanics really waiting for the moment that cars were invented. They go, oh, finally, now I got something to do.
On day one,
I've been doing nothing with these pistons.
their instructor's like, guys, honestly, most of you probably won't get a job out of this. You're doing it for the love. So for context, Cass, I don't know if this will help you at all. The distance from Melbourne to Cairns and back is about 5,500 kilometres.
That helps heaps.
So you do that.
Wow.
So you could
In a
drive.
day.
So you could drive to Cairns in 12 hours. These guys.
Holy shit!
But if you're doing it on public roads at the moment, if we left Melbourne right now, it would take us 31 hours.
Yeah, I was gonna. I've considered driving up to Queensland before, and then I stopped considering it. It was too big.
And that's not just to Queensland. Or I've never been that far north.
Oh yeah,
Isn't Cairns like
Cairns
up-ish?
up.
Yeah, that's FNQ.
I think isn't like Melbourne to Brisbane, and then is about halfway. I think, and then Brisbane to the top
Really?
is another half. Is that right?
Yeah, it's
Something like that.
Our states are very large.
Yeah, and it's weird because I think of growing up, sort of Brisbane, Gold Coast, that's Queensland, but that's right down the bottom.
Yeah, just
corner.
inside, really. So a few things have changed over the years. That's the first one, 1923. Until the 70s, Le Mans was famous for the Le Mans Start, which had drivers start outside their vehicles, run to their cars, start the engines,
Like
and
a
drive
game
off.
show or something.
Yeah, seriously. And if you watch videos of it, it is pretty chaotic because there's all these cars. Usually, it's a grid formation. You qualify. Like in Formula One.
Oh, yeah.
If you're the fastest, you're at the front. If you're the slowest, you're up the back. Like in Mario Kart as well, I suppose. But with this one, you're all lined up in the pits and you run to your car and you all just try and go as quickly as possible. And obviously, you get a bottleneck on that first corner.
Yeah.
That
So-
seems very like Mr.
Wow.
Magoo, Mr. Bean. I'm thinking a goofy fella when I'm thinking about this goofy fella race. Is the footage is it slightly sped up when you watch the footage?
Yeah.
Because you know how a lot of old footage is slightly sped up a little bit.
Benny Hill music.
No
No
one bends their knees properly. It's too much or not at all.
So this proved to be quite dangerous, so the procedure was changed, but not until the 70s. It's gone on to be coveted in the world of motorsport, and Britannica describes the race as probably the world's best-known automobile race.
Oh.
Okay.
So,
They say that that's still the case?
yeah,
More than Bathurst. That's interesting.
second only to Mount Panorama.
Come on. What about Brocky?
Rocky.
King of the Mountain.
I
Dick
said-
Johnson. Hey, what about Dick?
Dickie. Well, today Le Mans is one of the 8 races that compose the International Automobile Federation World Endurance Championship. So there's a bunch of these endurance races where it is a timed event. But the race is part of what is known as the Triple Crown of Motorsport, the EGOT of the racing world.
Oh,
And you're never going to believe it, but Bathurst isn't in the 3.
Oh,
Can you believe it?
Politics, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
so we got Le Mans.
Yeah. Like Sandown? The Sandown 500? It's weird. You'd think it'd be Bathurst, but
Bathurst? Nah, Clipsal made it. But no, it's an unofficial list of the most prestigious motor races in the world. And if you get the Triple Crown of Motorsport, that's if you win them all in one career. The races are the Indianapolis 500 in America,
Right.
the 24-hour of Le Mans, and the Monaco Grand Prix.
oh, that's interesting. 'Cause, yeah, that's just one race.
One race in a calendar,
big
yeah.
competition. And they're all very different races. Has anyone ever gone close?
Only one person has won all 3.
Jack Brabham.
Well, you know
Thought
that.
I just had a swing,
Have a crack.
How cool would that have been
It
if
would
that
be
was
so
right?
Been really good.
Cass, do you want to have a crack as well?
Brocky. Oh, sorry. Sorry, Cass. As a feminist, I thought I'd answer for you.
Thank you. It's really good to be spoken for. Tony Martin.
Tony Martin.
Tony Martin. Now, the
obviously is-
actor or the comedian?
Yes, both
Yes.
speed demons.
I think Tony Martin, 2 first names. A lot of people have both for. No, some people don't have last names.
My ears are burning.
Shut up, Stuart.
But I think that's a safe bet. I think that's a common It's a common enough name that I don't think
Honestly,
I'm in with a bad chance with the Tony Martin.
Tony Martin, it is in that sort of category of name. The only person who's won all 3 of the Triple Crown of Motorsport is British driver Graham Hill.
Oh.
That is in the same category of name, isn't it?
Yeah.
He could be a comedian or a talk show host or an actor.
Yes, Hill tonight. So some people replace the Monaco Grand Prix with the entire Formula One World Championship. They say to win the Triple Crown, really, you got to win the Indianapolis 500, you got to win Le Mans, and you got to be a champion.
That makes more
of Formula
sense
One.
to me. That right.
And
Yeah.
the answer is don't worry, because Graham Hill also won the championship in 1962 and 1968. So even by that metric, he is the only one who's ever done it.
Love it.
Sadly, he died in a plane crash in 1975.
He's a car man.
Yeah.
Just down on the ground.
Shouldn't have been in the
Like
sky.
Icarus. Yeah.
His son, Damon Hill, also won the Formula One World Championship in
I
1996.
was wondering if there was a connection there. When I was a kid, Damon Hill was a big deal for a little while.
He was the guy.
Do you remember him? You
Yeah,
seem
yeah.
like a guy who'd like Formula One.
Because my dad's really into motorsport.
Right.
Yeah, so
I say you seem like that. What I meant was I've got a memory of you being into it.
I think that is allowed.
Okay, great.
there's a bit of a history of father-son drivers in motorsport. Probably my favourite Le Mans story concerns French driver Louis Rosier, who entered the 1950 Le Mans with his son Jean-Louis. So the whole race goes for 24 hours, right? The senior Rosier drove for 23 hours and 15 minutes, only stopping to have a break in the middle so he could go to the bathroom, change the rocker shaft of his car personally, clean up the mess from said work, and then have some lunch. He only let his son drive 2 laps, but incredibly, they still won.
That is, when you said there's a lot of father-son teams, it's like, hey, that kind of makes sense. Like, it's like how a lot of cooks and chefs will have influence from, like, their parents. It's one of those things that it's a passed-down skill. And it's also very funny that he was like, nah, mate, you don't get to drive the car.
I don't trust you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, my son can do it. My boy, we did it together.
Yeah, because technically they are both champions of Le Mans, but really he's like, I do not trust you
Absolutely
borrowing my Ferrari.
It's the most dad thing I've ever heard in my life. I
So
love
good.
that.
Le Mans is also the race that started the tradition of winning drivers showering each other in champagne.
Oh, how did that start?
Really glad that sentence finished.
I love driving. I love being in motorsport. The best thing is just how much care we have for each other as drivers.
Showering
we
the winners.
clean each other, lather each other up. It's just really nice.
Well-oiled machine on the field. Well-oiled machine off track.
that's
Track. On the track. Off the track.
Off the track, we're well-lathered machines. Since 1950, the winner of the race has been given a bottle of champagne to be like, congratulations, here you go.
Oh, and they just waste it?
That sucks. I mean, I personally don't like champagne, so I sort of understand, but
Well, for the first,
give it to someone who wants it. Don't just waste it.
and it's proper like Shandon stuff. But in 1960, so first of all, you used to get the bottle of champagne. I imagine you'd drink it, you'd treasure it, whatever. But in 1966, a year that nothing else happened in the world of sport.
Cass, I'll just stop Dave there.
Yes.
That is actually the year that the Saints won their one and only VFL/AFL premiership.
Huh.
Yeah.
And Matt talks about it a lot.
1966.
It was also the year that the Super Bowl basically was born. That year a deal was made that the AFL and NFL would come together and play an end-of-year championship that went on to be called the Super Bowl. Last week did an episode about the Super Bowl. And the Chicago Bulls were founded in 1966.
Oh my God.
yeah.
I didn't know that. I honestly thought when I wrote nothing else happened in the world of sport that nothing did, but there you go.
England won the Football World Cup.
Football world.
They won the Football World
Yeah.
Cup.
Good on him. But also in 1966, Matt, if you want to add to your list, Joe Siffert, a driver, accidentally shot off the top of the bottle that he was given and it showered the public. And everyone was like, oh, this is a bit
It
of fun.
started as an accident.
I've
That's so funny.
always wondered, because the champagne, the fizzy stuff, would it feel nice or would it feel immediately sticky? Because it's not as sugary as Coke or
Right.
like a soda. Because you think you're getting like soda splash on you, like, ugh, immediately awful. But if it's not as sugary, would it be nice? And if the bubbles are a bit gentler,
I
like,
mean, it's still grape juice, right? So it'd be pretty sticky.
yeah, I imagine it would suck, but everyone seems to have a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so sometimes you see them cleaning out their eyes like, oh my God, this hurts. This
It
hurts.
doesn't. I don't like the idea of it. I'm not a big fan of being sticky.
No, I
And that's
would
why you've
love-
never won. You've
That's right.
come forth every time on purpose. Don't want to get on the podium.
Yeah. I've got a fear
On
of
the splash
fear of
zone.
podium. Yeah.
So that's the first one, 1966. According to the 24 Hour of Le Mans website, spectators wanted more. And the following year, Dan Gurney, a talented and cheerful prankster of a driver, this is again Le Mans words, forever changed the destiny of the famous bubbles. The American winner for Ford decided to reproduce the scene from 1966, shaking the bottle that he'd been given. The cork exploded out of the bottle and the public rejoiced. And the rest is history. So they do it every year now. And now it's in multiple sports, like even when Australia won the Ashes.
And that made the news a lot because Usman Khawaja's Muslim, and he can't have alcohol on him, I think. So they started spraying it, and Usman Khawaja had to like leap off the podium so he wouldn't get. And then the captain, this is what made it make news. The new Australian captain, Pat Cummings, is like told everyone, he's like, don't do that. Our teammate can't be here if you do that. And the story's being written like, now that's leadership. This guy, he saw one of the. It's like, I think that just, it kind of felt like just common decency, but also
It feels very trying to pick the bar off of the ground and be like, look what I found.
Yeah. But still, I mean, I guess if that's growth, then good on you, Australian cricket.
It's really interesting when the bar is on the floor and we applaud someone even if they get over it by way of tripping.
Yeah, but even Khawaja also, he like tweeted about it saying it made him feel really respected and stuff. So it was a nice story.
That is good. But it kind of feels like, you know, if your friend's got a food allergy and you're like, oh, cool, I didn't put gluten in the cake. They're like, oh my God, you didn't put gluten in the cake? It's like, yeah, it would make you sick. Why would I put gluten in the cake? They're like, that's really kind of you. I'm like, is it? I don't think that's kind. I think it would have been mean if I put gluten in the cake.
No, it's kind, and I'm contacting journalists to talk about it.
So that's the story of the champagne, where that's all come from. But one of the most well-known Le Mans is 1955, and it is not remembered for the right reasons, but it did change motorsport forever. The 1955 24-hour event was the 23rd edition of Le Mans and took place June 11 and June 12 that year. And between 250 and 300,000 spectators packed out the stands.
Say that again?
250 to 300,000
Holy
spectators
shit.
turned up.
That's good. That's ridiculous, right?
Huge. It's very, very...
That's like 3 MCGs.
Whoa.
Wow. That's like enough people to line up from here to Cairns and back.
Holy shit.
And at the time, Ferrari were the reigning Le Mans champions, and they arrived with the new 735 LM.
When I think of reliable cars, I think Ferraris. Just something, I don't want a flashy car. I just want a nice, reliable A to B car.
I just want to get there.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to get there. I know I'm going to get there safely. And, you know, their emblem's a horse,
Yeah.
the most stable and normal animal.
And I want to get there, and I don't want anyone to look at me.
No.
Yeah.
I don't want to make
Arrive
it
Arrive
seem-
in peace. What do they say? Move in silence. Make my moves in silence.
That's me. That's
Ferrari.
And you say it's a super reliable car. My mum worked as a librarian, and as part of... Like,
They classically drive a lot of
yeah,
Ferraris.
of course. If you look in the parking lot at the Eltham Library, it was absolutely ridiculous. Wall-to-wall Ferrari. But they carried in their catalogue a bunch of manuals for different cars, so people could do works on things like Toyota Corollas, Mazda 3s, sort of very common cars. But one day a lady came in and asked if they had the catalogue on a very specific type of Ferrari, because she wanted to do her own service. And it's like, if you can afford a Ferrari, surely you can pay a mechanic to look after it.
And like people do it as a hobby, Dave. She might have just been wanting to get her hands dirty, get to work.
Yeah. Have you ever had that moment in your life where
I'm going to say no immediately. But yes.
you think of a task and you're like, oh, you know what? Maybe I could do that. Do you know what something
Still
that,
no.
Well, hey, this is horribly depressing, but I've started to be doing a lot more for myself recently, because it'll be things like, oh, you know, make a purse, or like knit a top or whatever, or do my own safe electronics works, because like kids do it every day.
Yeah,
for
the
free.
kids can do it.
So why can't I do it?
That's a good point, Cass. And how have you gone?
Oh, fine.
Still alive.
Yeah, still alive. It's completely fine.
It's completely fine. Sounds pretty defensive, but
So Ferrari rock up. They're the defending champions. They've got this new car powered by a straight 6-engine derived from the previous year's Formula One car. So they're looking hot. Jaguar had thrown all of their resources at winning the race in an attempt to regain the crown they'd won 2 years previously. So they'd been on top recently, but Ferrari's taken over. Their team, Jaguar, consisted of 1953 winners Tony Rolt and Duncan Hamilton. But more importantly for our story, they also had a car with up-and-coming English star Mike Hawthorn, who'd been stolen from Ferrari.
It's a real Hollywood-sounding name to me.
Yeah,
Mike
that
Hawthorn.
sounds like a man
Yeah.
who's been poached.
For sure. That sounds like, yeah, you can imagine that man. He's working on his own Ferrari.
Yeah.
He's under the hood. And Hawthorn was paired with rookie and fellow Englishman Ivor Bueb. So they're one team, and I'm going to talk about Mike Hawthorn quite a bit, so remember him. So Ferrari and Jaguar, they're the favourites. However, Mercedes was certainly ones to watch. Fresh from a triumphant debut of their new 300 SLR in the Mille Miglia, which is a 1,000-mile race made up of public roads across Italy. That sounds fun.
Yeah.
They just drive across Italy.
So does that mean the public roads are still open? So they are doing a race while like Nona's ducked into the shops?
Get out of the way! I'm not. I imagine they're closing the roads, but
I think it would be more fun if they were open to the public.
oh, for
still.
sure. And if you're like, you got people crossing in front of you.
Oh yeah,
dealing
you
with
still have to give way for pedestrians.
traffic lights.
We're trying to figure out if it's a reliable car. Like, reliable cars need to deal with these things.
Absolutely.
You're absolutely
You
right.
need to be able to brake really suddenly for the cyclist.
Uh-huh.
You need to be able to brake really suddenly when the light turns yellow and you haven't really been in this area very much and you don't know how long it's going to take you to get across the crossing. So you just slam on your brakes because you don't want your demerits or anything.
Oh my goodness. That's the other thing. They had to stick to the speed limit.
Yeah.
They start off the race with their actual license.
They got to time it so they're not going through school zones between 2 and 3:30 or whatever it is.
A lot of navigation here. So Mercedes had 3 teams, but the lead car was driven by Sterling Moss.
Oh,
That's another
An
great
incredible name. An acclaimed British Formula One driver who would go on to be called the greatest driver never to win the Formula One World Championship.
name. Wow.
I prefer Sterling Moss.
Yeah, that's a bit of a mouthful.
Sterling Moss is a very cool name.
Yeah.
Very cool name.
I'm picturing like a forgery in an elven garden. How beautiful.
Sterling Moss. Very good. So he just won the Mille Miglia, and he was again to race for Mercedes, teaming up with another absolute giant of motorsport, Argentinian Juan Manuel Fangio.
Another fantastic name.
Fangio had already won 2 Formula One World Championships at this stage, and he would go on to win 3 more, a record that stood until Michael Schumacher broke it 46 years later. Fangio still holds the highest winning percentage in Formula One history at 46.15%, winning 24 of the 52 F1 races that he entered.
Wow.
So
that's ridiculous.
Yeah, he is like very, very, very important for the sport. And if that's not enough, my dad had a poster of him in his study, so you know he's the real deal.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Fangio. My dad would talk about him.
You'd have to. I know that driving the car is the important bit,
Oh, yeah.
but did he only start winning after the poaching, or like how much
Oh,
of
no.
it is car?
No, so Mike Hawthorn was the one that was poached. Fangio was driving for a few different teams.
Oh, okay. But
So he got a near 50% record for multiple different makers.
yeah, I guess that's what I'm asking. Like,
Yeah, because
is winning more in a
isn't it-
certain car, or
It feels like that definitely comes into it, right? Because it's one sport where it's like, you know, running. It's
all on you. But yeah, this is like horse racing. Like, what if the horse sucks?
Yeah, he raced for Alfa Romeo, Maserati, Mercedes, and Ferrari.
Yeah, that feels like that confirms he's pretty handy.
Yeah, that's good. That's very good.
Yeah, so
He's got the heaviest foot in the game.
he's still seen as one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah, it feels like that should be true.
Nicknamed El Maestro, the Master, or the Teacher.
Ooh,
Oh,
El Maestro. Now
Very
that's
cool.
a nickname.
that and the teacher. That's a good one because the implication that he's shared his knowledge.
Yeah.
I love that.
He went to the Cuban Grand Prix once, and he was so famous that someone kidnapped him. What? And for like a political stunt. And I think he later said they treated me very well.
Oh, fantastic.
And then when they were telling him about why they were kidnapping him, he was like, "I don't mind. I don't care. I'm not. I don't get me into the politics. I don't care."
Let me teach you driving.
Yeah, let me teach you. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that they've got an incredible team. Sterling Moss is a very good driver. Fangio, one of the greatest drivers of all time. They're driving for Mercedes. Mercedes also had an American, John Fitch, who was paired up with one of the elder statesmen of French motor racing, Pierre Levay. Also, I've heard it pronounced Levesque, but I will say Pierre Levay. So observers were anticipating a tight contest between the three teams, Ferrari, Jaguar, Mercedes.
Yeah.
Other manufacturers, you've probably heard of most of these, included Maserati, Aston Martin, Porsche, MG, and a private entry of an Austin Healey, driven by an F1 driver from England, Lance Macklin. So,
Really cool name.
a lot of cool
Yeah,
names,
a
and I
lot of
fired
cool
out a lot
names.
there. So to recap, to try and get some of these in your minds.
Yep.
Recap, the main players in our story, I remember there's dozens of drivers in the event, but we've got a Mercedes driven by Fangio and Sterling Moss, another Mercedes driven by Pierre Levay, Frenchman. Jaguar had Mike Hawthorn, and Lance Macklin was driving an Austin Healey. And it should be pointed out that every time these drivers got into their cars, they were potentially risking their lives. Before this race, 8 drivers had already died at the same track whilst competing in Le Mans. And in Formula One, which had only been launched 5 years earlier, 7 men had died, including 2 in the month before Le Mans 1955.
Wow. So it'd be just front of mind that it's
Yeah, and so these accidents, they're not uncommon, and they're driving really, really quick, and the cars have gotten really fast in an incredibly short amount of time.
so the safety stuff hasn't
Yeah,
kept
it
up
hasn't
necessarily.
quite kept up, yeah.
Wow.
And they're racing on the same tracks too that were built for slower cars.
Yeah.
The 1955 race started off with the traditional running start, drivers running to get behind the wheel and just take off.
Love it.
And it was an exciting kickoff. Remember that it's supposed to be an endurance event, more a marathon than a sprint, some would say. But both Mercedes and Jaguar didn't seem to get the memo because early on, Fangio for Mercedes and Hawthorn for Jaguar were repeatedly swapping lap records, just pushing each other to go faster and faster and faster. This is despite Fangio's delayed start caused when his trouser leg snagged on a gear shift lever. Despite that, he was still able to get up to the front, but yeah, he was delayed.
Yeah, it's make that running start seem so ridiculous when you realise that they're about to drive for a day. And it's such a small.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll get you an extra few meters if you run rather than walk.
Yeah, it's not like, and you'll get to the bottleneck anyway, so
Yeah,
you're just going to stop yourself.
unless you think you can get out in front.
That's right.
and
If
zoom
you're
off.
first to the bottleneck, who cares? You zoom out.
But yeah, it just feels like it's going to even out over 24 hours.
Yeah, that's just too much.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh my goodness. You imagine getting to the front of the bottleneck and being like, that's what did it for me. I stayed in the front the entire race.
Yeah.
Well, often that does happen a lot in Formula One. That's why it's so coveted to qualify first, because often people will lead from start to finish because you just get
Really?
out in front and you get 18, 20 seconds in front of the car behind you. It's a lifetime in a Formula One
That
car.
sounds
That's
like a boring
insane.
spectator sport.
Oh yeah, it's dull when that happens. It's not every time, but it just happens quite a bit. Especially at Monaco, that Grand Prix that is part of the Triple Crown, because that's actually on the streets of Monaco. It's a street circuit. And it's just tight, winding corners the whole time, so there's nowhere really to overtake.
I wasn't there at race time, but I went to Monaco and saw some of those streets. I just went there for a day. So what an interesting place. Just a place that's built on cash.
Cash and casinos
Yeah.
and not paying tax.
Yeah. Yeah, don't you pay to become a citizen, don't you? Some big chunk
Really?
of cash to get in, and then you don't have to pay
Yeah, that's
tax
why all
once you're
the
there.
Formula One drivers and tennis players all have their residence as
Right.
Monaco, so they don't pay their millions of dollars of tax to their home countries.
That's cool.
A kind thing to do.
Yeah. Oh dear.
Hey, the roads you grew up on, don't pay for them for the next generation.
Yeah, that's right. Often they've accelerated through their country's academies to be the top of their
Yeah.
field, and then they leave.
People poorer than me want healthcare? No.
No.
I have the opportunity to help fund someone's cancer treatment. I'm not going to do that. I'd rather a pool.
I think a lot of them, they'll have their own foundations, right? And they'd be like, I'm choosing where the money goes. I don't trust the government with taxes. I imagine that's how they justify it. I have the Gregson Foundation, and I give my money to these kids that I like.
These kids, my children.
Yeah, Greg Jr.
Greg.
and Greg Jr.
So Fangio and Mercedes and Hawthorn and Jaguar pushing each other. According to GQ, Mike Hawthorn had beef with Mercedes and fostered a personal reason to beat them. GQ writes, quote, Hawthorn's open antipathy towards the German manufacturer following the death of a close relative during the Second World War merely added to this determination to crush the Mercedes challenge.
Wait, that's like an Anglo-German beef. Is that what he means? It's like it was a war.
Sounds delicious.
Yeah, so because this is
Wagyu.
Put me down for one of those.
Anglo-German
Does it come in pie form?
beef burger.
So it's only 10 years after the Second World War's finished, and he's gone, they're Germany's most famous car manufacturer. I'm going to crush. By lap 4, Mercedes, Jaguar, and Ferrari cars filled the top 8 places.
Oh.
So they're really leaving the rest of the field for dead. So the favourites were performing as well as expected. After an hour, Ferrari made a mistake, letting Fangio in the Mercedes and Hawthorn in the Jaguar to the front of the race, still exchanging lap records, which was finally set by Mike Hawthorn. But then, at 6:20 p.m, at the end of lap 35, when the pit stops were due, disaster struck. At this stage, Mike Hawthorn in the Jaguar was leading. He flew past Lance Macklin in the much slower Austin Healey. He's lapping him.
Yeah.
He's a full lap in front. But having got the order from his Jaguar crew to head into the pits to fill up on fuel, Hawthorn braked sharply and turned in front of Macklin, who he'd just overtaken. So he pulls in front and then goes, oh, I've got to go in here, brake.
It's really cutting someone off.
The Jaguar had great brakes and Hawthorn slowed really quickly. Macklin and the Austin Healey attempted to brake but couldn't in time, so he had to swerve around the Jaguar that he saw now rapidly approaching him.
Oh, my God.
So he swerved to the left and hit the brakes and then pulled back into the middle of the track. But this put him into the path of Pierre Levay, who was driving a Mercedes behind him. The Frenchman in the Mercedes was doing 150 miles or 230 kilometres an hour and had no time to brake, and his front right wheel smashed into the back of Macklin. Levay simply had no time to evade collision, and with possibly his last action, raised his hand, warning Fangio, who was behind him. Fangio later said that this action saved his life. He said, I was doing 260 kilometres an hour. Just before we reached the first pits, I saw in front of me, hardly more than 50 metres away, Levay suddenly raised his hand.
Oh, my God.
He was warning me of some danger I could not see. I braked, but at that speed there was no question of pulling up in a few metres. Everything occurred so quickly that I could not see all that happened. I saw Levay shoot off to the right, while Macklin's Austin Healey was thrown to the left in front of me. How I got through and missed Macklin, I don't know. So he kept going. He's safe. Levay was certainly not as lucky. He's the one that's just put his hand up. He drove up the back left of Macklin's car, which launched Levay into the air and catapulted him off the track and onto an embankment. He basically accidentally used the back of Macklin as a ramp.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
And this all happens in like a split second. All these actions.
And this is within, like, after the first hour, did you say?
It's 35 laps in, so it's a couple of hours in.
And this is all
That's
because...
so-
2 hours into the race.
That's so early.
It's so early.
All because the Jaguar... He could have done another lap and...
Yes, but he at the last second went, I've got to pull to the pits, braked.
So it's just like an
Instinct thing. And then the guy behind him had to swerve. And then because he swerved, the guy behind him, Levay, rammed him and flew into the air.
Really unlucky timing, I guess, but yeah.
That's so soon in. Thinking about, like, when you do anything long haul, you have to do, like, even if you do, like, a shift for 8 hours, like 2 hours in flies past pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Because you are planning for a very long thing. So for 24 hours, I can't imagine how quickly that would. People who, like, 300,000 people showing up on their chairs, being like, oh, yeah, or nothing. It's only the first couple of hours.
Nothing will happen for a bit. Yeah.
Let's go get a fromage. Like, pick me up some croissant. Sorry. But
maybe a pomme.
A pomme de terre.
Yeah, maybe a pomme de terre.
Pomme, café au
maybe
lait.
pain à chocolat.
Oh.
Maybe an escargot.
Oh, are there any French restaurants nearby? Because I'm feeling like for lunch.
Yeah, I forgot about the 300,000 as well. Are they there for the whole 24 hours?
They come in bits and pieces.
There's
at
about
night,
7 people watching at any one time.
Yeah. And they're also very spread out because the track is multiple miles long. Miles long per long.
There's a kid watched someone die from flying out the top of a car, right?
Yes, well, let me talk about that. So LeVay was thrown from his car. He's the one that launched up into the air. He was launched back onto the track where he died instantly. During this period in motorsport, cars were more combustible and drivers less shielded from the effects of a crash and therefore chose not to wear seatbelts, preferring to be thrown clear of a car in the event of a crash rather than get trapped inside and probably get burnt.
Wow.
Looking at the footage of the crash, it's hard to imagine LeVay surviving either way. His car, there was nothing left.
Holy shit.
His car landed on the embankment between the spectators and the track, bounced, then slammed into a concrete stairwell structure and disintegrated. The car flew over spectators and rolled end over end for 80 metres. Debris from his disintegrating car flew into the crowd, including his engine block, suspension, radiator, and the bonnet of his car. It was a grisly scene, and that is putting it lightly.
Holy shit.
Did anyone in the crowd get hurt?
Yes.
Oh.
Very much so. Debris flew as far as 100 metres, crushing people in its wake,
Oh my
and then the rear of the car also burst into flames. Made of magnesium, it burst into flames as fuel ignited and showered the area with white-hot sparks, and things were made worse by rescue workers who were unfamiliar with magnesium fires, who poured water over the inferno, which greatly intensified the fire. You're not supposed to put water on a magnesium fire.
See, I reckon they've got to be told that.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Because I'm not I would also assume that water puts out fire.
Oh, man, I'd be throwing water on it straight away.
Oh, my God. I'd see fire. My brain would turn off and I would have that little fire. You know the little bear who teaches you about fire when you're in school?
Did he tell you to stop, drop, and roll?
Yeah.
Did he mention magnesium fires?
No, he didn't go into magnesium
Where's
fires.
the education?
The standards have dropped far too low.
Yeah. Because of that, it ended up burning for hours. Macklin, who'd been rammed at 250 kilometres an hour, he's the one that braked and then LeVay drove into the back of him. He spun into the wall before sliding across the track, running into and injuring 4 people, but somehow both they and the driver escaped serious injury.
Oh, that's great news. Because, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Obviously, the poor bloke who died had nothing to do with it. How awful's the guy calls the accident feeling? But the guy on the Austin, Macklin, he didn't do it. All he did was
follow his dream.
Yeah, follow his dream. And now, I guess you can't. I don't know why I'm searching for someone to blame here, but it does feel unfortunate that a guy driving that fast doesn't have the poise to think, I can't just pull in front of this guy and brake. You know, it feels like you should have that in your mind that you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it's in everyone's minds now from
Yeah.
1978 onwards.
Well, they're thinking about it. And so Macklin didn't kill anyone, but they weren't the only spectators hit. LeVay's car flying into the crowd caused an unbelievable death toll.
Oh, my God.
Between 80 and 84 people were killed.
Holy shit.
I know, it's huge. And a further 120 were injured. In the stands, people used advertising banners to carry the injured and the dead, while others frantically searched for loved ones, and 2 priests who just happened to be in attendance performed last rites on the victims where they lay. It was intense scenes. Mike Hawthorn, who had overshot the pits, the Jag, came in a lap later, because he didn't even get into the pits because he braked too late.
Yes, oh my God. So, I mean,
not that it would have been worth it if
I was
he
like,
got into the pit.
as long as he got into the pits, but just like, that's what you should have just done anyway.
Yeah.
You've cost yourself a bit of time and a lot of lives.
Yeah. And he came in a lap
Is
later.
he still going, the Germans, can't wait to get my revenge on these bad Germans who killed my uncle?
Well, he's come in a lap later with tears streaming down his face. He was unsurprisingly distraught, and despite his reluctance, Ivor Bueb, his co-driver, was ordered to take over because that's right, they didn't cancel the race.
Oh my God.
Jesus.
The track's on fire.
The track's on fire.
The stands are on fire.
People are dying. People are very injured. People are trying to turn the advertising into things. They're trying to put out a magnesium fire that will burn for hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like time to pull the pin.
Yeah, sometimes you got to wrap it up. Sometimes calling it's the brave move.
Yeah.
So these days, if something this severe happened, they'd wave a red flag indicating it's too dangerous to continue. The race would be instantly cancelled. But the race organisers back then, after being later criticised for this decision, defended themselves by saying that if they'd cancelled the race, the hundreds of thousands of spectators all would have left at the same time, and this would have blocked the roads for emergency services. We go, okay. They also said cancelling the race would have cost them lots of money.
Okay.
So,
Well, you could have stopped at the first thing.
You could have, yeah.
and
I mean, they can cancel the race and shut the door.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
could go, all right, everyone you can't leave yet. Obviously, we got to let the ambulance.
so a lot of people have been-
people would understand.
people have been really critical and said they just would have made an announcement and everyone would have understood.
Yeah.
So it's not a great excuse. So the race continued. Meanwhile, it should be noted that few drivers or crews understood the severity of the accident or the growing death toll even hours after it happened. To quote from a Guardian article written the day after, quote, on the other side of the track, it was several hours before many people knew of the crash as they danced in the open air and rode on funfair roundabouts because it's miles long.
Oh,
So
God.
some people are so far away they've got no idea it's happened. And no official announcement was made over the loudspeaker.
The
So-
other drivers wouldn't even know. Like, you'd see someone
Yeah.
crash, you'd see someone fly out, and I'm sure there are some guesses you could have made, but like if you didn't see
No, that's right.
how
And
it
also,
ended up,
you
you
And it
gotta-
happened so quick that they'd be on another part of the track.
Yeah.
They could probably come around and see.
you'd see the car on fire, but you wouldn't know. And also, the sad reality of the race is that people do die at the event. Like the month before, 2 F1 drivers had died.
But not normally 84 people in
no,
the crowd.
the spectators are usually safe. But you might see the car on fire and go, geez, I hope LeVay's all right.
Yeah.
I don't know, because it's the days before. These days you got radio communication between the drivers. It's all recorded, all that sort of stuff. But they're waving people into the pits. That you can't wave up a sign saying 80 people are dead.
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, and
But
it's-
they definitely could have told the crowd a severe incident has happened.
yeah, if you're planning to, if you crash your car, get flown out of it, you would see a crashed car on fire, be like, well, he got out.
Yeah, hopefully he's okay.
Yeah, you'd be like, oh, not all hope would be lost at that point. You'd be like, oh,
Yeah.
cool. Well, none of us are doing our seatbelts off.
American driver John Fitch, who was the now deceased LeVay's teammate, had been standing with LeVay's wife when the accident happened. She was understandably distraught and he stayed with her, only leaving to make a phone call to his family to let them know that he was alive. He was thinking, this is going to be big news. They might be confused as to who was driving the car at the time because they're teammates.
I'm so glad you didn't say they made him drive the backup car.
Oh, my God.
You get out there.
Oh.
Well, they're like, Fitch, you get out there. The car is on fire.
Only leaving to drive another 35 laps.
Yeah.
So he went to make a phone call. It was then that he overheard a journalist reporting that it was already thought that 65 spectators had been killed. And only then did the true gravity of the situation become apparent even to him. He raced back to his Mercedes team and urged them to withdraw from the race. He's like, this is crazy. So we got to stop the race.
Yeah.
He also argued that continuing to compete would be a public relations disaster for Mercedes-Benz, regardless if they went on to win or if they lost. They were already worried about their image as a German manufacturer only a decade after the end of the Second World War.
Right.
And he was like, he knew that this is the way that the team would respond. He's thinking, this is a nightmare. We've got to stop this race. I've just watched my teammate die. But to get the multi-billion-dollar company to respond, I've got to tell them that it's bad for their image.
Yeah.
That's it's amazing. It's interesting because I'm thinking they're not worried about PR. This is in the 50s. It feels like I'm picturing this in black and white, and it's all. That's not that long ago. Like
No.
yeah, Chuck Berry's making records at this time and stuff. It's I'm just having to keep thinking this is actually pretty recent.
Yeah,
My dad was a toddler.
some of the drivers racing around the track are still alive from this
Right.
time.
Oh, there you go. Bloody
They're very
hell.
old, but team manager Alfred Neubauer from Mercedes had already reached the same conclusion, but did not have the authority to make a decision to pull the race.
Slash the tires.
You just shoot him out. Cause another accident. Oh, this backfired. The decision had to be made at the highest level, and clearance to retire from the race was only received after all the company directors had been contacted and given their assent, which took until around midnight, so hours later. They waited until 1:45 in the morning when less spectators were around and quietly called their cars off the track into the pits. At the time, they were running first and third overall with Fangio still in the lead, but they just said, come off the track. To quote from GQ, A senior member of the Mercedes team approached Jaguar at this time to suggest that they too might like to retire from the race.
Mike Hawthorn's not still going around, is he?
He is driving round and round.
Oh.
And Mercedes said to Jag, maybe you could leave in an act of solidarity. This is fucked up. The Jaguar team leader was a man possibly aptly named. His name, Lofty England.
Oh my God. Lofty England.
Oh, wow. No
And-
first names in that one.
And just double checking the Jaguar, that's the car that caused this accident.
Mike Hawthorn's the guy who braked.
So he's still just
And he was
crying.
distraught, and they've sent him back out.
Yeah, so they sent his teammate out for a bit, and then now they've been swapping like usual.
Oh, you stopped crying? Up you go.
Yeah. Lofty declined to stop, and they continued to race. Their car, driven by Ivor Bueb and Mike Hawthorn, who remembers the man who's breaking into the pits, started the chain reaction of crash, went on to win the race, winning by a margin of 5 laps. This was 22 hours after the accident.
Jesus.
So they just kept going. God knows how you concentrate after thinking about that. And you're driving past it on fire every 15 minutes.
Oh my God.
I know this is, those would you rather questions. I've had a would you rather question where someone's like, just say something really horrible to you happens, like you're involved in like a car accident or something. Would you rather it happens at the start of the day or the end of the day?
Ooh.
Like in the morning, like right as you wake up, or like right as you're going home, like to go to bed. Like if you get into an accident and there's like a death or a really serious injury, which one?
This is a grim would you rather,
It's
but I
a
guess
really
they're all
grim,
pretty grim.
They're all really grim. This one,
Probably the morning.
that's the thing, because it's like do you want time to be able
The
to
day to
process it
process
through the day? At night, maybe you can go to sleep, but how could you sleep?
Yeah, I know. You at least in the day
You've got
you can
call people. Like
Yeah.
there's things you can
but that's
do.
the longest
but
day of your life.
It is exactly. So this would be rather questions someone asked you once 10 years ago, and you're just like, well, this is going to haunt me for the rest of my life.
yeah.
So I'm thinking about this. So this guy, not only because does it start in the morning or the afternoon?
It starts in the afternoon.
So he is doing both. He is having it happen at night, but also having to work.
Yeah.
There's no way he'd be able to process any of it, right? I would be surprised if you had any memory of the day.
Yeah.
Just flying around a track at an average of 200 kilometers an hour, yeah. And so they won. There was no victory celebration out of respect, but winner Mike Hawthorn was still distraught, but he was photographed smiling on a podium drinking from the victor's bottle of champagne.
Okay.
The French magazine Le Auto Journal published this ill-judged moment with a sarcastic quote underneath it, which translates as, "To your health, Mr. Hawthorn." So yeah, apparently he was really upset, but he just happened to smile when someone took a photo of him, and then that became the moment.
Look, if you're going into a situation where you are overwhelmed by any emotion, your brain legitimately starts shutting sections off, so you're able to process what's happening.
Oh.
And it starts with your frontal lobe, which has your short-term memory and a bunch of other stuff in it that, I think that's what switches off when you're drunk or something. So I wouldn't be surprised if someone just aimed a camera at him and he reflexed.
He really needs.
Oh.
He needed the team hierarchy to look after him here and say, we're not doing a champagne ceremony on the graves of all these people.
It would have been so weird to be like, okay, cool, now you have to go up to the podium. Just be like, oh.
Yeah. Oh. That's wild. That's wild that they did a champagne ceremony.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, this is before the champagne. I was going to say I don't know if they did the spray, but this was before that. So thank God that didn't happen. As the huge death toll and magnitude of the catastrophe came to light, the world was shocked and the reaction was swift. The death toll led to an immediate temporary ban on all motorsport in France, Spain, Switzerland, West Germany and other nations until racetracks could be brought to a higher safety standard.
Good.
Switzerland banned all racing on motor circuits following the tragedy, and they didn't hold a race again until the first Zurich E-Prix, which was held as a round of the all-electronic Formula E Championship in 2018.
Wow. That was the next race they had. Holy shit.
This is like, what, 60 years?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
amazing. They were playing it real safe.
Yeah. The other countries brought back motorsport basically a few months later, most of them, but Switzerland really, really took it seriously. An inquiry was, of course, held, and this is again from GQ, which has a great article that I will, of course, link to. The official inquiry cleared all drivers of any fault, and instead pointed out that the track was woefully unprepared for a race of such speed.
Right.
The course had been built in 1923 when cars had a top speed of 60 miles per hour, about 100k. It had only minor adjustments since then, in spite of the fact that the cars could now reach speeds 3 times as fast. So, yeah, it wasn't ready for that.
Doesn't sound like the organisers had
Yeah.
the well-being of anyone at heart.
Yeah.
Think of the stockholders.
Yeah. Easy to say in hindsight, of course.
Of course.
But sometimes you go with the flow on something and you assume everything will be okay. What's that bias where you assume it's like optimism bias or something? I don't think anything will happen to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Accidents, they happen, but not to me.
Yeah, you hear about tragedies, but they happen in different places to different people.
Yeah, not at this
It can't
inadequately set up racetrack that I've got
Come on.
a big race, 24-hour race happening.
No.
Yeah. Oh, man. So Mike Hawthorn was cleared in a pretty thorough investigation.
Yeah, but even though the inquiry found no one specifically to blame, many suggested that Mike Hawthorn had cut in front of Macklin and braked too hard, including Macklin himself, the guy who'd been rammed. There were reports that immediately after the incident, Hawthorn had been weeping and admitted that he'd caused the accident. But after the race, he vehemently denied culpability, and in his 1958 biography a couple of years later, he again denied responsibility. Macklin, who had braked and been rammed by LeVay behind, took offence to this as he thought it implied that the disaster was his fault, so he sued for libel.
Oh.
The claim was still unresolved when on one wet January day in 1959, Hawthorn himself was killed driving his Jaguar on the Guildford bypass. Ironically, this is not in a race.
Oh my
He was
God.
just driving. Ironically, he was overtaking a Mercedes at the time and he drove into a truck. His friend Rob Walker, who was driving the Mercedes, later admitted that they'd been racing at the time.
Oh,
They weren't supposed to be. They were on a street.
yeah, shit.
So it was a Jaguar overtaking a Mercedes.
Yeah.
That's spooky.
Oh.
That's spooky.
But in the accident, it was him overtaking an Austin, right?
Yeah, that's right. But the Mercedes.
Was the one that part of, yeah, still. Yeah, that's Austin's still a car? Vaguely rings a bell. Austin is a
Yeah.
Aston?
maybe I'm thinking of Aston
Oh,
Martin.
that's why I thought of Tony Martin.
Tony Aston Martin.
But yeah, that's I think him denying any. I'd be interested to hear who he did blame for the accident. If he's saying he didn't have any, he wasn't
Yeah.
at fault.
Or if it was more of a, wow, the world's crazy
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
And no one can be responsible for anything.
Yeah,
It is
yeah.
certainly a chain reaction, but he is at the front of the chain.
Yes,
Yeah.
and like a split-second decision, but
Yeah,
geez,
exactly.
a disastrous split.
You'd never think that that would happen because, sure, people die, but no one kills 80 people in the crowd. That never happened. That hasn't happened since. Like it's
Right.
super freaky. The horror of the crash caused some drivers present, including American driver John Fitch, who'd been LeVay's teammate after completing the season with Mercedes, Phil Waters, who was offered a drive with Ferrari for the rest of the season, and Sherwood Johnston to retire from racing.
They just, I think
They went,
that's
nah,
fair
I
enough.
don't want to do that anymore. And
somehow this became less fun that day.
Fangio continued to race, but he never raced at Le Mans again. Never went back. Mercedes-Benz withdrew from all factory-sponsored motorsports, so they pulled the pin on all motorsports, something they didn't reverse until 1987.
Oh.
So they were out for 30 years after that. Improvements were made to the track at Le Mans, and the stand in the pit straight was demolished. The distance between the track and spectators increased, and the pit straight was redesigned and widened to remove the kink just before the start-finish line and to give room for a deceleration lane. Because before that, the pit lane had just been right there. That's why
Right.
it braked really hard. So they made it
Gotcha.
a bit safer. The pits complex was pulled down and rebuilt, giving more room to the teams, but thereby limiting spaces to 52 starters rather than the previous 60. But that, obviously, safety first.
Yeah.
Despite the safety improvements, the following year when Le Mans was run in July, French driver Louis Henry was killed when his car flipped. Mike Hawthorn and Ivor Bweeb returned the following year and again recorded the fastest lap, but overall their team finished 6th. Can you believe he came back?
Yeah,
Wow.
he it just feels like he's really blocked it out. It was just about like he's just gone, just bad luck, and it's not something that could have been helped.
Yeah.
Do you know what?
Stiff upper lip, keep calm, and whatever they say in England.
Carry on.
Carry on.
Keep calm, keep driving a Jaguar.
Yeah.
I feel like there are a couple of, there's a million reactions you can have to a tragedy, but one is then they're all fine. They're all reasonable to be like, oh, that's scary. Don't want to do that again. Fine. Like, oh, don't want to go back to that place again. Completely fine. But to also be like, well, it's not going to happen twice.
Yeah.
I'll keep going.
Yeah. What are the odds?
What are the odds?
What are the odds?
You know, that was the worst driving tragedy of all time. There's no way I'm going to be in both.
Yeah. Yeah. Coming back is actually good
It's
luck
helping,
for the
yeah.
race.
If you
Odds
think
are-
of statistics.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. I'm not going to win the triple crown of motorsport tragedies. Surely.
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 But also I'm imagining all those new changes came into effect. New changes. That's the thing where you've said two words that, what do you call it?
A tautology?
Tautology, yeah. The changes were, they came into effect for 1956, did they?
Yeah, that's right. And they actually started the race a month later than usual because it took them, they went flat out all year to redesign the track, pull down the pits, pull down the stand, build all new stuff. So, but yeah, amazingly, they were good to go 13 months later. Surely, just to finish, some good can come from the disaster. Well, I'm pleased to say that it kind of did. The death of his teammate LeVay left an impression on the American driver John Fitch. Fitch later devoted a great deal of effort to the task of increasing the safety of motorsports and driving in general, resulting in his company, Impact Attenuation Incorporated. His innovations were characterized not only by the effectiveness but also by their real-world practicality as affordable and easily installed, maintained solutions. He devised the Fitch barrier system seen frequently on American highways, which you might have seen in movies. We don't have it here, but they're yellow plastic barrels filled with sand and placed along highways to absorb impacts.
I have seen them
Yeah.
in films.
Since being used in the late 1960s, it's estimated that they've saved as many as 17,000 lives.
Wow.
And that's just one of many inventions he came up with. Fitch died in 2012 at the age of 95. So
On your Fitchy.
he was around for a long time. So that's maybe some good that you could say came from it. But that is overall my report on the 1955 Le Mans disaster, which remains, and hopefully will forever remain, the most catastrophic crash in motorsport history.
I'd never heard of that.
No, I like Le Mans, familiar, not very, but
Yeah.
I'd never heard of that. And you
That
think,
crash, yeah.
So it's one little flick of the wheel, and what, 90 people
Yeah,
died?
closing in on 90 people, yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. When I was worried that was just the beginning when the race went on, I thought, I'm like, oh, they're going to keep racing. Oh, this story isn't over.
Oh, no.
no.
No, they're going to keep crashing.
Yeah, so I'm glad at least that it ended there, but frickin' hell. Oh,
God.
man, you go to watch a bit of sport.
Yeah, just a great day out.
Last thing you see is the hood of a car.
And it just sounds like a horrorscape, like
Yeah.
bits of car falling from the sky, everything's on fire.
Oh,
And
and
there's video of it, and it is filmed in 1955, and I'm kind of blessed that it is because it's a bit grainy, it's black and white. But even from that, you watch it and go, oh, God.
Yeah.
Yes, it's graphic, even though that it is. If it was full HD color, I don't think I could bring myself to watch it.
it seems like you'd have a spew having a watch.
And it happens so quickly, so suddenly it's just this flaming ball is like flying through the crowd, unbelievably fast.
Jeez.
And how cool is it that he gave that signal and saved the car behind?
Yeah,
Oh my God.
Amazing that his reflex, because that would have been a split second as
yeah,
well.
that's the last thing he ever did. That was
Yeah.
his last action, and it saved
who
Fangio.
knows?
Possibly,
Saved at least the driver behind him's life, but maybe he flips into the crowd
hundreds,
and
yeah.
yeah,
more
that's right. At the very least, saved one of the greatest driver of all time's life. Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. I wonder what if Ben Johnson, who's been so keen to get this up as a topic, if he's a car racing fan or like a car crash fan. What's he into?
I think he is into racing. Yeah.
'Cause it's a big sport in England, isn't it? Car racing.
Yes, big deal over there.
They don't have a Bathurst, but
That's
they've
all right.
got
We
their
can't
own.
all have a Bathurst.
That's true.
Yeah, and it's not fair to put that pressure on the rest of the world to have a Bathurst. 'Cause
That's
you're
true.
just going
You
to come
ca-
up short every time.
Yeah, not everyone can have a Bathurst. But You can, try.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they got roads in England.
Shoot for the Bathurst, land on
a
Monaco.
Silverstone or something.
Well, that brings us to everyone's favourite section of the show, Cass. I'm sure it's your favourite section.
Yes, we got the formalities out the way. Now it's on to the fun stuff.
This is where we thank a bunch of our great supporters.
Less people die in this section.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Well, traditionally.
I mean, they said that about the Le Mans, didn't
That's
they?
right, exactly.
We also
For a while, that was the race with the least amount of deaths.
Yeah. Formula One's the one where people die.
we also get to find out a bit about each other. That's the beauty
Oh,
of this.
yeah, learning.
Live, laugh, fun.
And we kick it off with a section called Fact, Quote, or Question. Jess normally does the jingle. The words are Fact, Quote, or Question. You want to put into a melody that feels appropriate?
Fact, quote, or question.
Ding!
Yeah, he always remembers the ding. That was
That's
really
great.
good.
I loved it. That was
was
sort of
smooth.
a jazzy number.
Yeah. Very
Thanks.
big
I'm in
fan
the
of that.
50s jingle mood.
Yeah, loved it.
So if you want to get involved, listeners, you can go to patreon.com/dogoonpod or dogoonpod.com. And for this first section, the Fact, Quote, or Question section, if you sign up to the Sydney Scheinberg Deluxe Memorial Edition level, you get to give us a fact, a quote, or a question. I read them out on the show. I don't read them out beforehand, so hopefully they're not fucked. And they haven't. So far, so good.
Yeah, that's right.
Cass, they also get to give themselves a title, okay? So
Okay.
first up, we've got Paul McNally, who's given himself the title of Captain Panic.
Oh, that sounds like. Oh, is that a superhero or is that like a emo band?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
How cool would that be?
Captain Panic. I like it.
Captain Pan.
Yes. Captain Panic of the Disco, sort of. So Paul, aka Captain Panic, has given us a quote, which is, hang on, there's a bit of a preamble here. All right. Hello all, this isn't really a quote, but I will explain. I'm sitting at home this morning and later on I'm bringing my wife and newborn son home from the hospital.
Aw.
I decided to make a little compendium of time-stamped things for him, newspaper, articles, etc. So I'm using my quote as an audio one. My quote is this. Tom, I got the name and he's written it phonetically for me. So if you mean this is the thing, me saying this is something you're going to play for your son, I better not fuck it up. Don't play that bit until he's of an age where he can hear words like fuck.
7.
The age of reason, as John Farnham once sang. Tom Orse, I think. All right, I'm going with that.
Yeah.
Tom Orse McNally, I love you with all my heart. Your dad is so happy you've arrived. Your mum is amazing, and as I battle through ISOFIX seats, prams, nappies, feeding regimes, I know it's all worth it because I will always take care of you and keep you happy and safe. I hope this message makes you feel happy, and I'm definitely playing it on your 21st birthday party night for your friends.
You just swore at a party.
P.S. Jesus Christ, I hope this message isn't at the end of a murder episode.
Don't worry, there was just a death toll of 85 people.
Thank you for indulging the sentimental fool. Happy New Year to you all and stay safe. Thank you very much, Paul.
Oh, that is...
Aw, congrats to your family.
I clutched my heart. That was so lovely.
Dave, any quick messages for Tom Orse?
Tom Orse, happy birthday. Obviously, you've come this far and you're going to go even further.
Yeah. If this has been played at your 21st, here's to 21 more and hopefully play it again at the 42nd.
Everyone charge their glasses.
Yeah.
And
beer bongs. It's a 21st, remember.
Are people still drinking in the future?
Yeah.
I don't know.
They vape their beer now.
Cass, any messages for Tom Orse?
You often get people being like, you can do anything you want in this world, and they mean the really big goal things. And you absolutely can. Any goal can be broken down to a task. Task is the thing you do in one sitting. You're fine. You can do anything. But like, you could literally do anything. Like you could, if you go into any shop, you could rob that shop immediately. And the choice not to is what makes you who you are. And the choice to do those things.
Yes.
You know, I think learning that you have a choice to do any given thing in your life, good or bad, is very freeing. So make good choices.
That's right. And so, Thomas, do not rob that shop.
Yeah. Unless, you're in a real bind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about in the future, but They often factor shoplifting into the price. So if you don't shoplift, you
So yeah, if you don't, you're basically being stolen from if you pay full price.
yeah. I mean, and you might be at a stage in your life where you don't want to shoplift, and that's amazing. That means you're holding it up for those who can't afford not to. Community service.
Well done, Thomas. I hope I'm saying your name right.
Oh, and if you could just follow me on Twitter at Dave Warnocky, that'd be great. I'm sure Twitter still is a very big medium, still relevant.
That's like, going. And send me a telegram. I don't know what ISOFIX seats are, but good luck with that, Paul, as you battles his way through ISOFIX seats.
It must be
baby-related seats.
Baby retaining device.
Yes. Well, good luck,
Keep
Paul.
baby
I've typed in ISOFIX seats and it's come up with childcarseats.org.au.
Gotcha.
Oh, they are annoying to install.
Well, the pressure as well, right?
Oh my god.
Imagine, I'm in a car accident episode. Oh no.
I mean, I guess that's why it's complicated. Like that you either can't do it or it is perfectly done. And that's what you want.
Right.
You want to be frustrated until you know that it is completely secure. Like you want something that you can't get wrong, so it's nearly impossible to get right.
Yes, because otherwise... Anyway, I won't follow that thought. Okay, so...
The longest 21st speech ever.
Thank you very much, Paul. That was lovely. Next one comes from Alex Bachet, or Backy. And Alex has the title President of Do Go On's Pittsburgh Chapter. Go Penguins.
Love it.
Alex has offered a fact. Alex writes, "Hey Yins." I don't know what that is. That Pittsburgh lingo? Anyway, hey Yins with a Z. Oh, I mean, I could have just read the very next thing. That's Pittsburghese for y'all.
Love it.
Was that our fact? Is that the end of the sentence?
That's a great fact.
You literally type in yins and it comes up with dictionary definition. In Western Pennsylvania, you used to refer to more than one person. How yins guys doing?
Oh, that's great.
Oh, how are you guys doing?
More than ever, we need words like that. These sort of like collective words, sort of non-gendered. And yins, to me, sounds like a winner.
Yeah. English literally has a lexical gap. Other languages don't have that gap. If you make a little chart of being like single, first person, second person, we have a hole in ours because we don't have a plural for you.
Yeah, I think I use use.
Yeah, which is it is people filling a lexical gap that we don't have, and it makes language more effective. And then people get annoyed at it. To those people, I say, show me the dictionary for the year that language was done.
Yeah.
Show me when it was finished.
Yeah. Yeah, yins, show us. So I'm working it in. Anyway, so Alex continues. I bring another Pittsburgh fact to you. Oh, that's right. Alex has been giving us some great Pittsburgh facts.
Bring
has
it
there been
to
one
life.
so far? Maybe more. Did you know that all three of our major pro sports teams, can you name them? He's written them here, or Alex has written them here. In the NFL...
Steelers?
Yes. Major League Baseball?
Pirates?
Yes. And NHL?
Pittsburgh Panthers?
I just said this one.
Oh, Penguins.
Yes.
Sorry, NHL. Yeah. I do know that. Go Penguins.
And our minor league soccer team, the Riverhounds.
Oh, come on. I was about to say it.
He was right on the. I could see his
I
mouth
love
poised
that.
for Riverhound.
Riverhounds.
Riverhounds
Lock
is
it in.
fantastic. They all wear the same colours, which are...
Blue.
No.
Purple and
Is it black and white?
Close. Black and...
red.
Gold, yellow.
Yes, black and gold.
Ah.
That's right. Like the home brand.
So all of their teams wear that colour.
Yeah, they're all wear black and gold.
That's great.
This is the
Saves
fact,
on
I guess.
uniform costs.
Yeah,
I like
for
that.
sure.
We are the only city in the US to do this, and to my knowledge, the only city in the world. If you are curious, the colours come from William Pitt's coat of arms. The city is also named after him. I do love all the ways you pronounce my last name. And Matt, you even came up with my all-time favorite mispronunciation last time, but it is pronounced Batchy. I think I said that in one of my attempts today. Anyways, thanks for laughs and Happy New Year. Hey, Alex Batchy. Happy New Year to you too. And apologies when I forget that and do it all again next time.
Hell yeah. Go Pirates.
Batchy.
Go Penguins.
I think I say Alex Bachet because it sounds similar to that Sydney to Hobart yacht, which is like Ella Bachet,
Oh.
which would just be a brand of something. But
Ella
didn't it
Bachet.
used to win that boat race?
Ella Bachet is a skin. It's where you get facials.
Right. Well, they also sponsored a successful boat.
There you go. The
Back
only
in
one I
the
can
day.
think of is Wild Oats 11.
Yeah, well, isn't it weird that we know names of racing yachts? That's so funny.
But isn't it weird that I also know all the teams in Pittsburgh for some
That's true, yeah.
culture? Just
How did you know that?
I don't really know.
I
Pirates,
assumed there
I
was a
reckon, is the
reason.
trickiest one, but
Yeah, I don't know. I just know a few of the teams. Just absorb it somehow.
yeah, because it would have been mentioned on, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air or something.
yeah, that probably.
And even though he was from West Philadelphia, not
Yes.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I didn't even mean that there was a Pennsylvania connection, but
No, but you
the
just think
same
about
state.
we just watch a lot of American stuff growing up.
Would have come
yeah.
up on some TV show. Thank you so much, Alex. Next one comes from Dominic Stevenson, who has the title Hermit.
Is that in capitals? The way he said it, Hermit.
And Dominic's asking a question, which is, what is the most trouble you ever got in at school and why? Man, that was so long ago.
Oh, what century was it for you, sir?
I stayed back. I ended up being there for a couple of centuries. Cass, you're most recently out of school. Any memories of...
I think the most trouble I got into at school, I famously faced zero consequences for any of my actions. But there was one day, because I was chronically late, and it really upset my parents, who were like, if only they would give you some sort of consequence to this action because it will affect your later life. And they just didn't. But one day I was late, and I can't remember why I was late, but I do remember I was in tears, and I was at my locker, and my friend, who was also running late, happened to meet me at the locker, and she's like, oh my God, are you all right? You know, when you're a teen. And they found me crying at my locker with my friend. They're like, oh, can't be late. And instead of making us go to class, they put us in a room, gave us like an immediate detention of some sort, and made us write lines. And it was so strange because every time I would think back on it, I was like, wait, you saw a crying child and said, no class for you, go write lines.
Yeah.
We had to write 100 lines or something. I cannot remember anything about what the lines were, but I do remember that at one stage the light was shining really beautifully through the window and the room was carpeted. So, you know when you see like a sunbeam and all the dust particles float?
Yeah.
And I remember both of us sitting in the room watching all the dust particles being like, you know what? This is a really beautiful day. I'm glad we're together. And we just had a really lovely time. And we didn't have to go to class. And that's the most trouble that's the consequence I faced.
Yeah. You learn a real lesson there. Dave, how about you?
Obviously, I was a high school bad boy.
Yep.
Were you in Weed Hornet at high school?
Yeah, in year 7 and 8, yeah.
Oh, was that early?
Yeah, for sure. Weed Hornet was my... I played in lots of bands in school, Cass, but
Yep.
my first one was a punk band called Weed Hornet. That comes up every second
Named
or third
after
episode.
a whippersnipper.
In the garage where we rehearse.
Oh, that rules.
We released one EP with 4 songs on it that we recorded at a recording studio, and if I can find a copy of it, I'm thinking that we could do a Patreon episode where we go through it track by track.
Yes.
That would be awesome.
If I've just got, we made 100 copies, and I don't know.
Sell hotcakes.
Yeah,
so,
you know.
yeah.
But the most trouble I can remember getting in
Sold.
is I wasn't in very much trouble at school, but one time in year 7 in food tech or home economics or whatever you call the cooking class, which I was terrible at, me and my partner were accused of terrorism when...
Okay,
that's
I didn't do a lot bad at school. I mean,
That's why it
got
comes to
involved- I
mind.
dabbled in terrorism.
because we'd accidentally left the gas stove on, and the teacher was like, "You're trying to blow up the school. You got to go see the principal." And we were like, "No, we're just really bad at cooking."
Promise we're stupid. Please.
She freaked
she
out.
leapt to trying to blow up the school.
Yeah, you're trying to kill us all. Oh my God, no way are we doing that.
What?
Like, just how bad I am at food tech. I once forgot to cook the bacon in a meal when it was like, and it was too late, so I just hid it under tomato and cheese, and everyone else at the end gets to eat theirs, and the teacher's like, "Oh, why aren't you eating yours?" I'm like, "Oh, I don't feel very well, really." But she didn't notice that my bacon was completely uncooked under there.
You wouldn't have felt very well if you did eat
No.
it.
Isn't bacon cured? Don't we cure it before we put it in? I can't give that advice.
I definitely
don't
would
eat
not.
raw
I wouldn't be
bacon.
eating raw bacon.
Well,
just
no,
in
I
case.
think
It's not raw,
if the
though,
listeners
cured.
eat raw bacon, cured, let us know how it goes.
Don't eat it.
Do not do that.
Probably you're not meant to. Look at the pack. If the packet says you're not allowed to do it, then follow the packet. You got to
It'd
listen
be
to
very
words.
chewy, wouldn't it, if it was uncooked?
I do it all
Haven't
the
had
time.
bacon in a while. You eat uncooked bacon all the time.
Yeah, it's cured. It's fine.
Eating-
Don't do it though. I think I could just have guts of steel because I've done it forever.
Healthline.com. Eating raw bacon can increase your risk of foodborne illnesses such as toxoplasmosis and tapeworms. Therefore, it's unsafe to eat raw bacon.
Okay, don't eat raw bacon.
Yeah, okay. I think that's good advice. I can't think of the, I think I was pretty obedient sort of kid. I remember one time I got sent home for having a beard, I think.
What?
Was the teacher jealous?
Yeah, but I think they just weren't allowed to have it. Like, it was one of those really inconsistently enforced rules.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
because, I mean, I had it the day before as well, you know.
Yeah. You did a full
It's
day.
Yeah, I was gonna say like how did a beard happen?
Yeah, that's
without
right. So,
them noticing.
yeah, it's just, I guess that teachers are humans
So
who,
They pull out the tape measure and go, "That's 3 mil."
yeah.
Yeah, the rule. It's only
But-
2.5, mate.
Because both my parents are teachers, I feel like I always, I just didn't want to, I always wanted to be good to the teachers.
Yeah.
So I really don't think I got in trouble that much. I mean, with mates and stuff, I was on the edge of them doing fuck things, but, and maybe I got in a little bit of trouble just by association. But I think generally I was pretty good. I just can't remember. It's so fucking long ago. Just sad. I'll talk to some mates soon and I'll come back with some stories. Good question, Dominic, but you broke the one rule I ask everyone who asks a question to answer their own question. Dominic did not do that. I reckon Dominic's got some great tales.
Oh,
if you're
yeah.
asking that question, you've got a good answer.
Yep.
So you got to hit us back, Dominic, with what trouble you got in at school. Man, it must have been stuff. I really can't think of anything. Thank you, Dominic. Final one is from Colin Wright. Colin's title is actually Colin's little brother Lee, with whom he shares the subscription, though I may have forgot to pay him this month. Sorry, Colin. Okay, Colin/Lee has offered us this fact. Fun fact is how it starts.
Yep.
Love that.
Fun fact,
Love fun.
exclamation mark. Okay.
Love fact.
And geez, you're lucky, Lee, that Jess isn't here because Cass is sitting in for Jess.
Mm-hmm.
And Jess normally says if it's a fun fact or not. She's pretty brutal. I feel like Cass is going to be more open to fun, but we'll find out.
I'm open to fun, but
Oh no!
I like having it.
Okay.
So
you're going to be strict on the ruling as well.
I think, look, I'm open to fun because I want to have fun.
Yes.
So you've got further to fall with me.
Okay.
My heart is open, but it is a cliff.
All right, so Lee writes, you recently learned on the Kangaroo Kicker episode that the Badger mascot of the University of Wisconsin is named Bucky. This is fun because you gave me the same nickname back on the 119th episode, Queens of the Sydney Underground. I was a supporter just on the shout-out level at the time, and the gangster name you gave me based on the town I lived in at the time was Buckeye, Arizona. Was Lee Bucky Wright. But this fact is even more fun because I was born and raised in Wisconsin.
Whoa.
Now that's nominative determinism, I think. That's great, Lee. Yeah, so we did an episode way back about Aussie gangsters, and then at the end we gave some of our shout-out people nicknames. And amazingly, like 150 episodes later, we talked about a mascot with the same nickname we gave him.
Well, that is fun.
Thank God.
I think
that's
that
fun.
is fun. That's nice. Like imagine being little Bucky,
Yeah.
having a listen, having a moan, having another listen, all this year later. Oh, no, it would be 3 years, wouldn't it?
It's beautiful.
Oh, no, that's fun. It's a nice fact too.
Yeah, I like a nice fact. Thank you so much, Colin, Dominic, Alex, and Paul.
Bucky.
We do also, I know, Cass, you're thinking, well, the shout-out section's over. It is only just beginning.
Whoa.
The next section, we shout out to people who've been supporting us on the shout-out level for a little while. And just when we comes up with a little game based on the topic we just talked about. For instance, that one years back, we gave everyone a gangster name because we're doing an episode about Aussie gangsters.
Yes. And then I think last time I was here, we gave everyone a task.
Yes, that's right.
In the survival group.
That's right. So I don't know if you've got any thoughts on what we can offer.
Some sort of broom related thing.
Some sort of car related thing.
Yeah, maybe we can give them a vehicle to
race in the Le Mans. That's fun.
Okay, yes. What car are you driving in the Le Mans?
All right. If I can kick it off, if that's okay with you two, I would love to thank from Winchester in Great Britain, Rebecca White.
Or Flintstone car.
Oh,
Oh,
pedal
yes.
power.
Pedal power that whole way. And because you talk about it, you got to turn it off, you got to refuel. Don't have to worry about refueling at all.
Yeah, that's
You'll
true.
catch up with the other cars because you don't have to leave the track.
That's right. The only refueling you got to do is a bit of lunch, and you
Yeah,
could have like a
in your
big
tummy.
dinosaur
Yes, fill-
steak on the side.
Exactly. Fill the car with bananas. You're ready to go.
Yeah. Great. Cheers to you, Rebecca White. Enjoy that for 24 hours. Brutal. Hopefully your
Hey, you're in-
co-driver.
Yeah, exactly. You're in a team.
Yeah. Hopefully Fred is your co-driver because he's got form. I'd also love to thank from Strathmore in Victoria, Australia, Chris Armstrong.
Novelty car shaped like a big fist, and you drive through a window in the ring on the ring finger.
That's great. That's fun. Fist car.
And coming up last place, we have Fist Car.
I think it'd be good in an accident too. Wouldn't it? It'd just be able to absorb the crash.
Yeah, that's right. Or destroy your opponents.
Yeah.
As it
Yeah,
were.
well, if the little window is on the ring, then
And finally from me, from Lacombe in Canada, it's Cole Bouchard.
Cole Bouchard. What about Cole Bouchard's driving around a tank?
Oh, yeah.
Which obviously they don't go that quick. I think they can go quite fast these days, but not 200 or 300k an hour. But if you crush your opponents or
I don't
blow
think-
them up,
I don't think you have to take the corners in a tank. I think you take the corners.
Yeah.
You get to pick
Mine
what the road
now.
is.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I think Cole Bouchard. Is that how you'd say that? I think that's a great name.
great name. Yeah.
Is it? Let's have a look.
Cole.
Yeah, because there's that tennis player Eugenie Bouchard who
I
is
think
pronounced that way.
You're probably correct.
Also Canadian.
But what about butchered?
Oh, Cole Butchered. Yeah, it's great
Really
too.
butchered that name, didn't we?
Cole the Butcher Butchard in his tank, mowing down the opposition. Fuck. We're in a grim car race now. Dave, do you want to thank a few?
I would love to thank a few. I'd like to thank from Brooklyn in New York. It is okay. So NYC.
Oh, I think, okay, so NYC. If I'm thinking NYC, I'm thinking rollerbladers.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It's a conga line. You're
You know, gritty New York, Cass?
Oh.
What do you think? You thinking,
I'm thinking I'm walking here. And
Yeah.
I'm thinking you're blading there.
I'm blading here?
And I gotta get out of your way. It doesn't matter if I'm walking here. You're too fast.
Yeah.
You've got blade in your name. It's scary. I'd clear the track. For rollerblade.
Yeah, I think that is so New York, rollerblades. I mean, I've only spent a few days there, but
That's all you need.
I didn't see anyone rollerblading, but I
It's
felt
a
like they were
vibe.
probably around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can feel that. You feel that.
I walked along the Chelsea, the Chelsea High Line or whatever it's called, and it feels like rollerbladers would fit in there.
Yeah.
I know that's not in Brooklyn,
But
but
racing around the track, I love it.
yeah,
It's on wheels. It's on the track.
yeah.
It's on tracks. It's on the track for a tank. Thank you. Okay, so NYC. I'd like to thank also now from Reservoir, a place we are very close to at time of recording.
Ooh.
Jimmy Williamson.
Jimmy Williamson, we are inside you right now.
Ooh.
What are you thinking, Jimmy Williamson? Reservoir, that is not you, Jimmy. Obviously, I mean we're in your ears.
Yeah.
That's true too. Maybe true on both counts.
What about
What's a classic reservoirian mode of transport?
for whatever reason, I'm getting novelty lock and key set. I don't know how we'd motorize that.
Okay.
That's all I've been getting.
Novelty lock and key set.
Maybe because of jimmying something.
Okay. I know. I think that's great. I mean, we've already done the car shaped like a fist. Maybe now we can do a motorbike shaped like a lock and key.
Oh, that's
yes.
fun.
Okay, so the front prong, wheel.
Yeah.
Back prong, the handle, bigger wheel.
Yes.
You lie down face first.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
You have a...
So it's like a luge type.
Yeah, it's
bike.
almost
like
like
a-
a skeleton.
It
or
is,
whatever
but
it's
you
called.
lean forward instead of back.
Oh, I saw some footage of like some trials for the skeleton at the upcoming Winter Olympics, or is it upcoming?
Yeah.
And
China.
it has got to be the most full-on sport in the world, or right up there for mainstream sport at an Olympics. On your belly, flying down at like an ice water slide. I don't know how fast they go, but it is hectic.
That's scary.
Have you seen it? It's
No,
wild.
but your neck's not meant to be like that.
Yeah, they must be looking up to see, right? You couldn't just.
If you weren't looking, that's so scary to think about. But
Yeah.
then if you were looking, you'd get a sore neck.
Yeah. So
Where's
Lose,
the
lose.
I feel, like
safety
if,
for the
I feel like if you're
sportsman?
not looking, you're going to get an even sorer neck when you crash.
True.
So we've got Jimmy in a lock and key motorbike.
Motorbike. I love it. And I would love to thank from Sheffield in Great Britain. Man, I've got some good names this week. The Funkasaurus.
The Funkasaurus. Okay, what are you thinking for the Funkasaurus?
Oh well, I mean, when I think funk, I think of Bootsy Collins, maybe.
Like one of those lowrider Hot Wheel.
Yeah,
Oh.
Like a hot
in the shape of a
Hot
bass
rod.
guitar.
Yeah, hot rod in the
Yes.
shape of a bass guitar. The Funkasaurus from Sheffield. Thanks so much for your support. Love
I
it.
think what's happened is I used to in the last few months I've changed my system with these shout outs, and I think the names used to come from the mailing address, the way that I exported them, and now that this is how they actually present themselves. So I think we're just going to get more names like this from now on. Not that there's heaps of them, but if people, it's whatever they put in as their
Hey, I appreciate it. That's what they want to be known as. That's what I want to call them.
exactly. The Funkasaurus is so good. When I think of Sheffield, Great Britain, I think
Funk.
and dinosaurs. What do you get when you mush them together?
A lot of oil, I tell you what.
They're Dave Street. Cass, do you want me to shout out the last three? Or you up for shouting out a few?
Oh, let's give him a shout. Okay, next up, we have all the way from St. Paul, Sadie Fisher.
St.
Sadie
Paul,
Fisher from the
Minnesota,
Twin,
the Twin
Cities.
Cities. Go Timberwolves. Is that right? So St. Paul's the Twin Cities, St. Paul and Minnesota, right? No,
Minneapolis.
Minnesota's the state. Gotcha. Yeah, so Sadie Fisher.
What about twins? Is there like a motorcycle sidecar type situation?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, like
sidecars, though.
Two sidecars. Yes.
And somewhere else there's two motorcycles that have been mushed together.
That is so good.
Yeah,
Double
sidecar.
sidecar.
Motorized sidecarts. That's fun.
Why hasn't
That
anyone
is
done
fun.
that?
Yeah.
Why
Everyone's
don't
equal
make the
in a
whole
sidecar.
motorbike out of the sidecar?
Well, Sadie has answered that question.
Okay.
Yes, is what Sadie answered.
Yeah.
Sadie, that's a great way to get around Le Mans.
Yeah, it feels lower, closer to the ground, safer. So next up from Kilburn, Adelaide, South Australia, we got Kirby Primer.
Kirby Primer. Oh, wow, that's another fantastic name. Kirby, of course, I learnt when I was on Gamey Game, is like a kind of blob and in a computer game and eats things. Is that right?
Yeah, Kirby
And flies
is
around.
also how you could describe the Monaco racetrack.
Yeah, it's
Am I
very
right?
Kirby.
Very Kirby.
So Kirby Primer. I think Kirby Primer gets around on one of those bouncy things. You know those
Oh, Space Hopper.
space hopper? Yeah, gets around on a space hopper.
Oh, boing boing.
Yeah. I don't know if it, like in Bathurst, it's one race, but there used to be a lot of different classes. So you'd even get hobbyists.
There actually
driving
is.
slower.
There is classes in Le Mans
Right,
too. Yeah.
fantastic.
Oh, yes.
And we've added a new class, space hopper.
Well, let me just tell you. From BBC, Roger Oster, 19, is now the official record holder for the furthest distance travelled on a space hopper in 24 hours.
Oh, so
Oh my god. So it already exists. There's already a Le Mans.
The teenager from Missionhampton, near Stroud, bounced for 4 miles. That's not that far.
No, it's been 24 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
interesting.
you like to get tired?
Yeah.
Maybe you went to bed.
Had quite a big nap in the middle of that. I'm picturing that Kirby Primer's Space Opera is coloured and drawn on face to look like Kirby there.
Oh, that is fun.
Yeah.
Oh, can I just say this record has since been broken? I'm on Guinness World Records now. 21st of March 2021. Someone in Belgium, 32.8 kilometres.
Okay.
That
Now we're
seems
talking.
better.
So they've done like 3 laps of Le Mans in 24 hours.
Thank you so much, Kirby. And finally, Cass.
Finally, from Cohiba. Is that right? Cohiba?
I'm not familiar with it, but
Cohiba, Jamaica. Oh, I want to take you, John Draker.
Oh, that is good stuff.
only actually Cohiba from New South Wales in Australia.
Absolutely.
John
Oh, I
Draker.
want to take you, John Draker.
Oh, man, that's so good because I was reading that going, I didn't even read that. So I was thinking, we've got a Jamaican supporter. This is awesome.
You
John,
do not.
you are still an absolute legend. And John, what is John driving around on? Got to be a penny farthing.
Oh, there he
it's gotta
is.
be.
He's up top.
Yeah. Motorized or he's pedaling.
No, pedaling.
Love it. We have not been kind to most of you. Most of you are having a brutal 24 hours coming up.
Please make it stop.
Good luck, John, and thank you so much for your support, as well as Kirby Sadie, the Funkasaurus, Jimmy, So NYC, Cole, Chris, and Rebecca. And the last thing we need to do, Cass, is invite a few people in our Triptych Club. These are supporters who've been on the shout-out level for 3 years straight. And once they are brought into the Triptych Club, this is a bit of theatre of the mind. We're in the club. I'm standing on the door, I got the velvet rope. I lift it. I've got the clipboard. I read out their names. They run into the club.
Mm-hmm.
Dave's standing on the stage with a mic, hyping the crowd up, which is everyone who's already been inducted. And he sort of hypes them up. And then normally Jess gives Dave a bit of positive feedback just because, it takes a lot to be a
hype man.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
Who hypes the hype man?
Jess normally also comes up with a cocktail based on the topic. So what is the Le Mans cocktail?
Okay, we're getting bottom of the shelf vodka. Where it's giving gasoline. We've splashed a bit of Coke Zero into it.
Yes.
No, we're getting Diet Coke. Like the one that has the bit of the worst flavor.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, maybe it was Coke no sugar for a while. One of them had a bad flavor. Whatever that one is to give us that tang of bad.
Okay.
And a bit of the gasoline color. We will also be floating a layer of, I think, tequila on top and setting it on fire.
Okay, great. That's fantastic. It sounds tasty and distasteful all at once. And Dave, you've normally booked a band as well to play?
Yes, we are in celebration of our French roots this week. It's Daft Punk
Aw,
reforming
Daft Punk.
for the club.
Last time we had a Sans Pants person on the show, Zamet, did not know who Daft Punk was, and it's something I thought about later. I'm like, I don't know. I was like, you don't know Daft Punk, but you know how annoying it is when people go, you don't know a thing I know.
You haven't seen The Godfather?
So I went home and I was closed my eyes in bed and thought, why did you say that? You didn't know Daft Punk.
Sometimes
That's fine and cool.
Sometimes there's a difference because I have had moments where someone's like, I've never heard of that. And you're like, wait, how did you avoid it?
Yeah.
It's not like, oh my God, you haven't seen it. Because I think the best way when someone says that is, especially if it's something you love, you're like, we're about to have a sleepover and watch a movie together. How nice.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, I haven't heard this album. I was like, you are about to have such a good time.
Yeah.
Please tell
right.
me about it after you do. But sometimes it's just baffling that someone's avoided something for so long.
Yeah, I think that's what I was like, wow, they were really
How
big.
did you not know? Like,
not
I'm
like,
pretty shocked at that.
Loser, you don't know Daft Punk.
What do you not listen to the radio for 20 years?
I actually don't even own a TV. So, all right, so there's 2 inductees this week. Dave, are you ready? Have you got your hype muscles?
Who am
good
I
to go?
hyping? Let me hype.
Firstly, from Tracy in California, it's Trevor Hammond.
Ooh, the hammer.
Oh, that was good. That was good.
Oh, wow, this is even better. It sounds like she's being genuine.
Just genuine sounding compliments. That's really great.
And from St. Joseph in Illinois in the United States, it's Nate.
Ooh, more like great.
Okay. No, that's still fun. I like it.
I've got 4 letters to work with here. Nate.
Nate, more like my new best mate.
My mate. He's great.
He wasn't late.
I was thirsty, but now you're here. I'm satiate. That doesn't quite work.
It was fate.
Anyway, thank you very much, Nate and Trevor. Welcome in. Make yourselves at home. Have a good time.
Thanks, guys.
Enjoy your beverage. Please blow it out first.
Yeah. Well, that brings us to the end of the episode. Dave, is there anything else we need to tell people before we go?
Oh, we are doing a show at the Comedy Festival, which we haven't mentioned on this episode. And we've actually sold some tickets to it, like quite a lot, which is really nice. So thank you so much to everyone who's done that. It's a quiz show where I'm the quiz host, and I'm going to quiz Matt and Jess with a guest each week. There's 3 Mondays in April at the Comedy Festival. We're at the famous Melbourne Town Hall on Monday nights at 9 o'clock. And the topic is a subject from history, Cass.
Oh, we've all been in that.
Yes.
Yes.
I lived a lot of my life in there.
So obviously we've got some experts from history, Matt and Jess, and I'll be quizzing them on a certain topic each week. It's a different show every week. Lots of great guests. And you can get tickets at comedyfestival.com.au. It's called Do Go On, The Quiz Show.
And while you're there, why not get a ticket to my show with Alistair Tremblay-Birchall, which is called...
Honk Honk.
Okay. Honk Honk, Hubba Hubba,
Ring-a-ding.
Ring-a-ding-ding. It's catchy, and that's why I certainly remember it. And that's on for the second half of the festival. Don't come on a Monday if you want to see me, because I'm being replaced by Angus Gordon. I mean, go see that show if you want to, but I'm going to be at the quiz show instead. So come to the quiz show and then come see me and Al one of the other nights. It would be so cool to see you there.
Yeah, but in the meantime,
yes,
we can fill our ear holes with the voice of Cass Paige on many, many podcasts that come out every week.
Yeah. Oh, they're just bursting through. So sanspantsradio.com. Everything on there is great. See what you like. We got comedy, we got culture, we got adventures as well. D&D is for nerds.
Love an adventure.
Yep. Playing D&D with your mates. That's what it is. My mates,
just
not your mates. But.
Just a nice time.
Yeah, you can listen to me playing with your mates.
Hey, Cass.
Yes.
Thanks so much for joining us. Now, we always ask this at the end of the episode. Do you want to come back next week and play for the jackpot?
Or do you want to take what you've already got?
Yeah, you can take what you've got now.
So I could head off with all the knowledge and memories
Yes.
I have now, or
Yes.
I could double that, you're saying,
Yep.
potentially.
Yep.
I'm going to go for the double.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, that's
See you
exciting.
next week.
Laters.
Oh, yeah. Thanks so much and
Bye.
goodbye.